when it
Like
comes,
it's a similar accomplishment. So
yeah, you're right. You know, like if we're like compared to level of player, since he's really good, winning worlds is like really good for him. Since I'm not really good, top eight is like my worlds. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Top Cot Pod, a Pokemon TCG podcast presented by Top Shelf Co. My name is Juan Pablo Ipiales, and I'm joined today by my co-host Lucas Warred. How are you doing today, Lucas?
we're doing all right. Yeah,
Yeah,
played a lot of Pokemon this weekend. Had a good time. Didn't do too well, but is what it is.
I'm glad to hear that you've been playing a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I've played a lot online, but yeah, we'll get more into that in just a bit. So today we're going to be going over the local meta at Top Shelf, mainly kind of going over the differences between this month's meta and last month's meta and how the new White Flare and Black Bolt set must have influenced it, especially with the uptick in Goldango that we're going to see. We're then going to transition over to Worlds and kind of do a quick recap. So let's start off with the August League Challenge. I feel really silly saying this, but I'm pretty proud of myself for getting a top eight. But the reason I feel silly is because when you have someone who comes to our shop regularly to play Pokemon, i.e., Riley McKay, winning the World Championships the 4 days after you get your first top eight at a challenge, it kind of feels a little silly to mention. Um, but over,
It's not silly. You should be proud. It's an
you're right.
accomplishment.
You know what? My first top eight, and then I'm gonna be the world championship in 5 years somehow.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
That's just what's gonna happen. Just lock in your ticket for wherever it's gonna be. The moment I figure out where it's gonna be, I'm just gonna buy my ticket to that country and not look back. But yeah, this month's meta compared to last month is pretty different. Um,
Yeah.
I would say we had a couple, slightly less people, slightly less masters, and I think that's probably due to worlds. Um, I know a lot of the people who come regularly have either qualified to worlds or had friends that had qualified to worlds. I know a lot of people within our community had traveled all the way to Anaheim just to kind of like be there. But Lucas, how about you give me just your initial thoughts on one, the kind of the meta spread overall, and then also kind of like what you see in the top eight, because there's some pretty interesting decks in top eight.
Yeah. So first thing that kind of stands out, it was similar to the world's meta. Goldango was tied for the first most common pick for our challenge, and it really showed why. In the top three, there was two Goldengos. It's a very, very powerful deck right now with the new Genesect DX and Air Balloon. Um, and then Raging Bolt, just in my opinion, Raging Bolt's always going to be popular until it rotates. It's a fun deck. It's fast. I don't see people stopping playing it. And then, of course, Gardevoir. Gardevoir is Gardevoir. It's been the best deck or one of the best decks for since it came out. So that's not too much of a surprise. It's a higher percentage than what it was at Worlds, but we have such a small sample size, so
Yeah.
makes sense that it's up there. And then one thing that I did notice, I mean, comparing it to our July League challenge, there's only one less person picked Grimmsnarl, even though I think that deck has kind of fallen off a little bit. I was a Grimmsnarl believer for a long time, and then recently it's just I got a little too inconsistent for me. But still a very strong deck. Just makes sense that it dropped off a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was actually I was the one pick who who changed
Yeah.
that. I think Norel and I think Chris still stuck with their picks of Grimmsnarl. Um, and yeah, I think Grimmsnarl definitely kind of falling off is also what we when we get into the world's metas we're gonna see like no Grim at all in within like the recap of day one or day two. I kind of think that Grimmsnarl to me is just feeling pretty underwhelming right now. I think Duskmore coming back to Dragapult definitely kind of kills Grim a lot. Kind of takes away a lot of the stuff it can get going for it, especially with the damage spread. Being able to knock out Monkey Dories, being able to just take those one hits on Grimmsnarls that for whatever reason it feels so difficult to set up consistent Grimmsnarls, even with Spike Myth. Um, that's why I felt with Grim, at least when I was kind of playtesting the night before the challenge. It was really funny actually because the guy who came second, Dan, shout out to you, Dan. We were playtesting the night before the challenge, and both of us chose different decks. We showed up with different decks that we playtested with. I was playtesting with Garchomp just because I wanted to play with it. But man, Garchomp is such a. It feels like I need like 7 different cards to come out that all do very specific things, which maybe with the new Mega set will, because this fighting type's getting so much support before that deck actually can be good. But I ended up doing Dragapult. We'll go into my list a bit later. But yeah, I mean, Goldango is really great. I think the only reason we see a Gardevoir #1 is because it is Hugh. And for those of us who don't know, Hugh is actually someone that Riley playtests a lot with, and he brought Riley's 60 to the challenge. And that Fluttermane, I think, wreaked havoc on both. I think he played Dan, and I think Dan was just like, I couldn't do anything. I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do. So why don't you talk about and like enlighten us a bit more about Fluttermane and like why it kind of fell off in Guardy list, but then why it's kind of seen a big resurgence, especially now that it's won a world championship.
Yeah. I think just Goldango getting so popular again. I know Fluttermane's really good into some other matchups, but a lot of like Goldango can't draw 2 cards when it's in the active spot because Fluttermane shuts off active Pokemon's abilities. I know there are some others, but they're just not coming in my head right now. We were just talking about Goldango and how strong it is having Fluttermane in the active, swinging into a Goldango and then setting up for a big Devo play. It's very, very strong against Goldango, and I'm sure Hugh did that to Dan, and I'm sure Riley did that to a lot of people at Worlds. So it's just a very strong card that I know uh, some people don't use. It just does 90 damage. Sometimes you'd rather have a Drifloon just to knock something out, but um, I think it showed at our challenge and at Worlds why it's very strong.
Yeah, and I kind of continue with the same mentality where I think that Gardevoir, the reason that I don't think it's the best deck in the format is not because of the strength of the deck. I think we've seen the dominance it has. But I think it's because, in my opinion, best deck in format kind of also translates to how many people can just pick it up and do decent with it. I think maybe that's why I would say Goldango right now is probably the best deck in format because Goldango is a pretty linear deck to learn. As someone who's played it the past little bit online, it's just really easy to kind of get a jump on your opponents, especially if they're not too experienced. Um, but yeah, Gardevoir I think is the best deck when it's piloted by someone who really knows what they're doing. Again, we'll talk about this a bit more later in our world segment, but when you saw it being piloted by Riley McKay, both in the semifinals and the finals, it was kind of ridiculous seeing how easy he makes Gardevoir look because you're just like, oh, I just got all my psychics in the Discord, set out Monkey Dories, and I win. When that isn't the case, because if it was, everyone would be playing Gardevoir and everyone would be doing well with it.
Right. Yeah. And there's another cool thing. I know we're talking about our local meta right now, but with Worlds, watching Riley play, you could tell how well he knew his lines into certain matchups. Like, for example, in the finals, he set up the exact same way both games, which just showed me like, oh, he knows exactly how to win this matchup. And once he set up the same way in game two, I'm like, okay, I feel confident he's winning right now. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
and
just seeing like how well he knew the deck was great.
yeah, and that's exactly what he was telling us at the challenge. You were there judging,
Yeah.
I was there playing. He was like, "Yeah, we know all the matchups." Even with Huey playing, like I played him round one. I was also playing Dragon Ball Dusknoir. Even though I bricked a little bit, that's definitely not the reason at all why I lost. But
Yeah.
it was kind of it felt so oppressive how Huey was setting up that I think like I could have hit from turn three. I could have drawn into everything I needed, and one the matchup is like horrible if they know how to play Gardevoir well. And the way that Huey was setting up, I was just like, damn, I'm so excited to see Riley play this list at Worlds because just seeing Huey play the game, he was a great player, but kind of self-admittedly, he's like, I'm just a dad who like brings my kids to events and then I participate in the events if I can. She just says that all the time. Just a dad who likes to play cards, but the way he set up against me,
He's a very good player.
yeah, no, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the way he played against me was the setup was ridiculous. And I heard from Dan after his match, he's like, Dan was like, yeah, I saw his board and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And I think if Huey's anything to go off of, a Garbo player who knows their lines is a tough matchup, regardless of kind of what you're playing. Even with Goldango, that's technically a favored matchup for Goldango. I mean, if they know exactly how to set up, they're doing it. And Huey was giving us a bit of a test run, what we later saw in Riley McKay within the finals. Another thing I want to shout out, because maybe I'm still a little salty about this, is Marco making it top four with a Terra Box deck. Definitely taking advantage of Shaman not being in a lot of lists. I included it in mine.
Yeah.
I prized it, and I prized my Latias. And I also break that game. But that's what happens in Pokemon. It's a TCG. But kind of, what are your thoughts on seeing Terra Box? Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a bit of smaller meta, but compared to all these like heavy hitter decks and players that we've seen in local meta, Marco's always been a great player. He always loves choosing off meta decks, though. I think last challenge he played a Blissey deck. So
He always plays crazy stuff.
So yeah, talk
Not
to me a
not
bit
crazy,
about
but
this
yeah.
Terra Box.
I just think Box it's a good choice. Because it like the Wellspring Ogrepon, like you said, not very many people are playing Shaman. I am not personally playing Shaman, so I'm just praying I don't pair someone like Marco. But just any setup deck, Dragapult, Charizard, Gardevoir, Grimmsnarl. If you're not playing Shaman, Terrabox takes advantage of that by knocking out two of your cloaks, whatever it is. But that's just such a big advantage. And then they have Pikachu to swing late game to knock out your stage twos. Yeah, if you're not playing Shaman, just pray you don't hit Terrabox is what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of just like one of those things where it's like kind of you got to deal with it. It's and again, yeah, it's just one of those things that also feels like I think in the TCG, especially in Pokemon, there's some setups that just feel so. Oh, if this was original, I would have scooped game one, right? Because I just knew that the game was over. It's a challenge. I don't like scooping at challenges. I will play it out. I don't care how dead it is.
For
I
sure.
will play it out if it's turn three. They have Dragapult and I have Badoo and a Dracloak on my bench. I will play it out knowing that I'm going to lose. Um, but definitely one of those situations where I realized I pressed my Shaman. I think if I was at originals, then and there I would have scooped. I would have like known if it was heading, especially with the hand I had. I had only one Buddy Buddy Poffin. Had no supporters in hand, so I knew that next turn if I didn't grab anything off the top deck. So after my Pollen, and then I think he had Noctowl, Crispin, and Sparking Crystal. If I saw that regionals, I would have scooped because it's an uphill
For
battle
sure.
with fighting that Torrential Pump. Just with the Noctowl engine, you just have to keep getting Crispins. That's all you have to do to set up that move. Recycling energies back into your deck don't really matter. Um,
Mhm.
it's a tough deck to play with, and I think Marco is a phenomenal player. And I think when he plays decks like this, it's because he knows them really well. And I always joke around with him because I think he stopped playing for a couple months because he wasn't really feeling the meta. And then I'm like, oh, we should like go out to Toronto. He's like, yeah, but I don't really play much. I'm like, you just top four in challenge. Like, I play a
Yeah.
lot, and I struggle to top eight challenges. My first top eight, and like this is like the third challenge I think you've topped four. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, I'll see. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, everything else is kind of expected, I'd say. Owen Lee,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love Owen. A Charizard faithful, the biggest Charizard supporter I think we have in the shop. I think he's played Charizard at every challenge he's played, and that's not me being hyperbolic. I literally think that has been his main deck
Yeah.
for everything. Um, And I think,
I remember he was trying Hydreigon for a little bit, but I think that yeah, just locals. But he called Charizard being a good play because it did very well at Worlds.
and he also did
Yeah.
quite well. I think he had a very similar situation where I think he ran into pretty. I think he also ran into Marco because I think we are both cheering against Stan because we both lost to Huey, so we are both cheering against Stan for our resistance, which I think I was safe. I'm not sure with Owen because of how resistance would have matched up, but with Dan losing, sorry Dan, we are both pretty happy about that to get our top 8 and get our points. And then Joltik Box top 8 again. I think Joltik Box is a great play. I think it's a really fun deck. I've been trying out the Goldango Joltik Box at one Seniors Worlds, which has been really fun because it's like you can kind of
Looks
do
cool.
anything.
Yeah.
My favorite play so far has been, oh, I can't knock anything out with Iron Hands to get 2 prizes. Retreat for 4 energy and a superior energy retrieval and knockout with Goldango. Um,
It's cool.
but yeah, I think that's kind of it with our local meta. If we're comparing it to last week's Worlds, definitely the fall off of Dragapult Charizard. Um,
Yes.
Compared from 4 picks to one this time, and I mean, Lucas, I think you can kind of explain more a bit why this fall off is so prominent.
Um, I think just mainly because uh Dragapult Dusknoir's popularity. Any Charizard deck has a really hard time into Dragapult Dusknoir. I know there's ways around it in that matchup, but I think just a lot of the players that were playing Dragapult Charizard switched to Dragapult Dusknoir just because I think it has better matchups. Um, and honestly, like I when I pick decks, I pick it based on what the best players are playing. Just because they know better than me. So a lot of top players stopped playing Dragapult Dust or Dragapult Charizard, so I think that kind of pushed a lot of people off of it too. If people think the same way I do. Um, yeah, I think that's the main reason.
Yeah, I think also. I think with again the Dragapult Duskmore, I think the prevalence of Voodoo, um, kind
Yeah,
of coming back has also been really harsh for the Charizard decks. Um, I mean, I think something that is such a disservice that obviously it's no one's fault is not being able to see more of Oyvind's list at Worlds, especially the match he must have had with Ryan McKay. Because a 2-1 set, I can only imagine how great that match was. Obviously, it's no
I
one's
heard
fault.
some great things about it, but yeah,
I will have to talk to
crazy.
Huey or to Riley if he comes up next time, just to
hmm
kind of hear about how great that match must have been. But yeah, I think right now, in such a Badoo heavy Dragon Ball format, it's really hard for Dragon Ball Duskmore to kind of get going and for it to be really threatening later on if you just keep sniping a Charmander on the bench. If you keep kind of attacking, using Duskmore, getting those one hit KOs on opponents' Dragon Balls, I think it's just kind of really hard to really do anything. Um, Anything else that was different? I didn't realize there's no Flareon box in this kind of month's challenge
Yeah,
or this month. Yeah, this month's challenge compared to last month. We already had two. Honestly, I think that's pretty. I think that's going to change leading into what we saw at Worlds and how well a lot of the Terror Box did. I think a lot of them were
yeah.
shy of a day two appearance, like a lot of 5-3s with Flareon. Um, but yeah, and just looking forward to September, which is going to be a pretty big month for Top Shelf because we're hosting our first cup of the season, which still not sure if I'm going to be able to participate in that. Hopefully, I'll be able to play in that, but that's going to
So
be
yeah,
pretty exciting. I really love having cups out because that's when we have a lot of cool people come out. Potential of having multiple world champions in our shop with Riley McKay and some other regulars,
awesome.
some other cup regulars that come out. So that's gonna be pretty exciting. But how about Lucas? We take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll discuss more about the World Championship meta. And welcome back, everyone, to the Top Cut Pod. In this segment, we're going to be going over the day one and day two meta shares at Worlds 2025. So, Lucas, how about you take us away with your initial thoughts looking at the deck analysis from day one?
Sure. Yeah. I think as expected, Goldango was the most popular deck. It had a lot of hype going into the tournament. I know me personally, I watch a lot of Azul GG's YouTube videos, and he put out one right before Worlds that he's probably playing Goldango. So that really like confirmed for me, like, oh, this deck is definitely the real deal. A lot of the top players are talking about playing it. So that was no surprise. It was really cool to see how people like the different lists that people were playing with the Chansey and Togekiss. But yeah, that was expected. Same with Dragapult Dusknoir. A lot of online tournaments leading up to Worlds, like more than half of Top Cut in each one was Dragapult Dusknoir. So again, expected. Gardevoir, as always, it's always going to be there. It's been the best deck for a long time, like I said earlier. Um, and then Raging Bolt makes sense. Raging Bolt always has a high play rate at any regionals, internationals, or worlds. Grimmsnarl, pretty low, like only 5%. I think some people were predicting that it would be like 10% at worlds, but only 5% for Grimmsnarl, and then around 4% for Flareon Noctowl, which, based on the meta, I think that could be a little higher just because it has a pretty good. I mean, I don't play the deck. I think it has a pretty good Goldango and Dragapult matchup. Flareon hits Goldango for weakness, and then the Sylveon can shuffle Dragapults back into the deck. Um, so I would expect maybe for Pittsburgh, maybe Flareon Noctowl will be a bit higher of a percent. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with everything you said there. I think something that's super going to be interesting going forward is how people are going to break up their Goldango list. Um, we talked about it before we started recording, but I really have been enjoying the Goldango Trolltick deck that's come out. It's been just a fun, like, it's one of those decks that's like, maybe it's not the best, but it's really fun to pilot. It won the Seniors Worlds category, so a sad shout out to Gabriel Fernandez for not being able to complete the perfect season. But buddy, you're gonna be okay because you won
Yeah.
two internationals, and I don't think there's actually maybe Tord has won that many, but I don't think anyone can say that actually currently. So you're gonna be chill, Gabriel Fernandez. Unfortunate loss, but I think it kind of shows just how cool Goldango is and how versatile it is. Like seeing the plays of, oh, you're gonna knock out my Iron Hands, actually Penny Goldango Superior Energy Retrieval for knock
Mm.
was crazy to see at times. Me and Julian, who came in third at our challenge, so shout out Julian because he also made a pretty last minute decision to play Goldango, from what I remember. He was also, we were talking about it at the little watch party we had, and we're like, yeah, this deck just seems like fun. Like being able to like manually retreat out Iron Hands or Professor Turo, just a fun deck. So I'm very excited going forward to see Goldango, and we saw a lot of cool stuff in Goldango in day one. Um, I can't believe that I skipped over Genesect when I was playing last month's episode. I don't know how that went over my head. Because it was my fault. If anyone's wondering, it's like, why did they talk about Genesect? That was on me.
I
That
forgot. Yeah.
the power level of that card went way over my head.
Yeah.
Um, 22% of the meta is something I don't think we've seen in Pokemon for quite a bit. It makes sense in this format of Worlds. You know, the first time players had to qualify, so sample sizing is significantly smaller than I think other regionals in other Worlds. So that could be a big reason. But it didn't feel oppressive, which was nice. So I kind of liked being like, oh, there's all Goldango, but it seems like the meta is quite healthy overall, which is I love seeing as a competitive player. I mean, Dragon Ball Dusknoir, it's a fun deck too. It's really cool. I love Dusclops. I love Dusknoir. It's a really fun thing. Recently, I was looking back at my regionals list for Toronto. Now that's Limitless has like added every deck list ever. If you ever want to look back at your old decks, even for the audience, go. It's a fun little go. I was looking at my Dragon Ball Dusknoir list from Toronto. horrible list retrospectively, looking back at it. No wonder I only won 2 games. But yeah, Gardevoir, I honestly thought there was gonna be less choices for Gardevoir, simply because I thought the concentration of like high level players at Worlds, obviously to qualify to Worlds, you're fantastic. But I definitely thought that maybe people were gonna skip out on it, and also we didn't see a lot of the Jellicent builds, which is pretty exciting, like interesting. Like I know Isaiah Bratner played Riley McKay round 2 of Worlds on stream,
Yep.
and the Jellicent actually didn't seem as good as I think we both thought it was gonna
I thought
be,
it was going to be really good. Yeah,
and kind of even
but
like yeah, playing online, maybe not the best sample size. It doesn't feel as good as just straight Gardevoir, which was something that surprised me. Like you said, Lucas, Raging Bolt is Raging Bolt. Everyone's gonna be playing it. Everyone like it's a fun deck. Everyone's gonna be playing it. Grimmsnarl, yeah, the fall off is kind of crazy on it, but kind of looking back at it, it makes sense why the world's best players didn't bring it to Worlds. Definitely fell off the pace with having a pretty bad Goldango matchup
yeah,
retrospectively. And also, for whatever reason, it seems like it has like a weird Gardevoir matchup, even though it hits for weakness.
yeah,
Um, I don't know why I've seen a bit of like top players being like this matchup is not something I want to go up against. But I also don't understand why that would be not the best matchup. That's my area of expertise where I kind
yeah.
of live it out on. And
Midori.
yeah,
They're better. Gardevoir's better at Monkey Dory than Grimmsnarl.
this is why we
That's what
have
I found, at least.
this is why I have Lucas on the podcast because I was just being like, I don't understand why it's a bad matchup. Um, and the Flareon, every single time I played Flareon, I've had a bad time. Not because like anyone I've played against is like mean or anything, but it's also one of those decks where you're like, all your HP is such awkward numbers that like
Yeah,
using a Dusknoir on a 280 Pokemon feels just horrendous. And it's also
yeah,
like the evil, like the evil, Sylveon play is probably the most funny thing because it's like not like Wellspring where it knocks out your Pokemon, it's just like shuffling them back. So sometimes that feels like, oh, like you're just like not letting me play the game. Like I'm not even losing. I'm just like not playing the game right now.
yeah.
Definitely can see why I made a lot of waves in day one. And now if you want to kind of talk us over day two, because there's some pretty interesting shifts.
So top three decks, or well, actually no, top two decks stayed the same. Which makes sense. I don't think I need to really talk about that. Gardevoir actually went down a little bit. Um, I couldn't tell you why. I'm not too sure about that one, but I think Raging Bolt has so Raging Bolt moved up in in the percentages a bit. It just has pretty like decent matchups into like the big stage 2 decks. It can just knock them out. Charizard gained popularity, and um, I was gonna say it has I was gonna say it has a pretty like Raging Bolt has a good Charizard matchup, but I don't actually think that's true. Um, but Gardevoir fell down one spot, but I think that might have just been because the people that were playing Jellicent realized maybe it wasn't actually the best thing to be playing. Charizard came into the top 6 decks, which I think is really cool. I really like playing Charizard. Right after Worlds ended, I put together one of the top 8 Charizard lists just because to play to locals. Like I just love playing Charizard. And then just straight Dragapult stuck into the top 6 just because Dragapult's a good deck. Um, I don't really know what else to add on that, but Dragapult's strong. It's always it's going to be strong till it rotates. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a quick little thing I want to mention. I'm really glad that TPCI has begun to kind of differentiate between lists because
Hmm.
I think a couple like last before NAIC, like all Dragon Ball lists were kind of like treated the same, even though they all are mechanically very different. That kind of like we talked about when we were breaking down our local meta. Um, I'm all with you on the same boat. Seeing Charizard have 6 picks in day two, and then also having a pretty decent showing in Top Cut is really cool. Especially in such a Bidoof still heavy format, which kind of killed Charizard for a long time. It's cool to see how people used it. I mean, I'm pretty surprised about Raging Bolt's being able to maintain its status in day two. I know what we see at a lot of regionals, especially throughout the season, would be Raging Bolt the most popular deck in the room, and then day two it would not be in the meta share or it'd be like the last spot in the meta share. So pretty cool to see Raging Bolt being able to maintain its popularity and transition over and have a pretty decent conversion to day two. Again, like you said, Goldango kind of expected after day one, just seeing results come in, seeing how it was playing on stream. It was kind of,
Especially like who was playing Goldango. Like the best players in the world were playing Goldango. So it's like it's gonna do well, right?
yeah, a lot of,
Mhm.
exactly that. A lot of high level players playing Goldango. Yeah, very similar thoughts. Um, Something I wanted to mention because I found it ridiculously interesting. The amount of top players who done well throughout the season who didn't make day two was insane. NAIC winner Isaiah Briner didn't make day two. Henry Chow, 3-time regional champion. I don't know if I actually don't remember if he'd made day two or not, but I know he didn't make top cut.
He
Um,
went 5-3.
he went 5-3.
Oh,
Yes,
Henry, yeah.
yeah. And then we had Azul also not making day two. I think it was a 1-3 drop, which is pretty
Yeah.
brutal. I was watching the Uncommon Energy podcast that he has with Chip Ritchie, and it was funny kind of seeing just Chip Ritchie make fun of Azul for the record of 1-3. Um, yeah, it was just pretty insane to see how all these big players that make day two, but that's what Worlds is. And I think in this new Worlds format, it's just like, yeah, like this is, I think, a higher level of competition. Um, because I think now as Pokemon grows, status of players grow, and I'm very happy we didn't have a lot of controversies like last Worlds. Like the amount of videos
Right.
from last Worlds that came out of like people just blatantly cheating, palming cards, like all of these things. I don't know if you remember from last Worlds. It was insane. All the videos that were coming out from like some high end tables. So it's pretty cool that none of that seemed to happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. A lot of things you said. Day two kind of didn't really have any surprises. Um, Especially once we saw Charizard in action. I think we saw Oivan play his, I want to say round 3 or 4 of day one, and we saw how good that list looked. So
Mhm.
I think after kind of seeing that day two conversion doesn't really surprise me, and Pidgeot's a fantastic search engine, and it's a fantastic
Oh, for
card.
sure.
So that's kind of, I think, it for looking over the deck analysis of day one and day two. We will take another short break to kind of come back into our tournament runs and how we've done over the past month for competitive Pokemon. Lucas, take it away with your tournament run.
So I haven't been doing too great recently. I just recently switched back to Dragapult Dusknoir. I had been playing it for a while, in the past. I won a challenge, on like a couple days ago, but it was only a 4-person challenge, so it's not something I'm super proud of. It's just I won a tournament, I guess, but then I went to 2 cups this past weekend. Both went pretty poorly. The one I'll talk about was the first one I went to. I started 0-2, so I was pretty much out of it by that point. But so game one, I prized all my Dragapults. So I play like very similar to Justin's list. I only play 2 Dragapults in my list. It's a little greedy, which and then it showed game one there. I prized both of them, but I just play the 3 boss instead, just because I like being able to use boss's orders whenever I want. But yeah, prize both Dragapults game one. Not as good as Justin, so I couldn't pull it back from there. And then game two, I played a mirror match and I went first. I got one Dreepy out, and then I got item locked the whole game and I couldn't do anything. So that sucked. But then I went on a little bit of a run. I got up to 3-2. Just won 3 games in a row, got set up every game, got what I needed to get. I don't remember the exact matchups, but that felt pretty good after being pretty down about my start. I won 3 games in a row, and then they put up the standings going into round 6, and it was a clean cut. So no 4-2s could make it into top cut. So the last game, I played against Gardevoir. I lost, but it's like going into the game, both of us knew like, oh, this is just a fun game. Like, it's not that serious. We'll just play it out for fun. Um, but then yeah, that was my run, and then the other cup I went to, I won 3 drop. Like it was bad, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. I mean, yeah, we all have those ones. Like, I think definitely
yeah,
it's a lot. I found it so funny. Like, not funny, but the contrast, like last episode, where it's like when you don't do well, you're just like, yeah, I just lost my games. But then we do well, you're like, I remember this matchup and this matchup because like you feel like
yeah,
so much more
exactly.
cool about it. Um,
Yep.
because I think I'm in a bit of an opposite position where I think I slightly did better. Because I think last week I was like, yeah, I lost. I went 3-2. I think I went 2-3. I lost that last month's challenge. This time I flipped it around 3-2. Again, my first top eight of this, first top eight ever, which I find so funny that had to happen the same, of course, the same weekend that Riley McKay wins Worlds. So when it
Like
comes,
it's a similar accomplishment. So
yeah, you're right. You know, like if we're like compare the level of player, since he's really good, winning Worlds is like really good for him. Since I'm not really good, top eight is like my Worlds.
yeah,
Um, that's actually gonna be a funny title. Tournament Juan wins Worlds? Question mark. But I was pretty happy with my run. I kind of mentioned it a bit before we were talking about our meta. Lost round 1 to Hugh. It was pretty bad, embarrassingly bad. Like, not only are you bricking, but then like your opponent's setting up, and it's again one of those situations where if it was online, that concede button would have been clicked so quickly. If it
oh
was
yeah,
online, I would have clicked it right away. I would have seen Krillia Gardevoir. I think he had a Screamtail in the active. I wasn't able to get my Shaman out. Oh, actually, I was able to get my Shaman out, but it was only able to do so much because he bossed it. He was able to. Actually, I started with Shaman in the active, so I was able to protect my Drapey for a turn, but then he knocked out my Shaman. I wasn't able to do anything next turn. Um, so one of those things where it's like you just kind of brick, and then your opponent plays really well, so you're just like, oh, double whammy. Um, I then went into round 2, in which I faced off another Gardevoir. Got very lucky. I've never seen Gardevoir brick for 4 turns in a row. It was 4 turns of draw pass, and I was able to set up. But even then, like when the Clefairy comes on board, like that matchup still gets so scary, especially when you're using Dusknoir, just because you're kind of reducing yourself, giving your opponent prize cards, which obviously comes with a pretty good trade-off. But still, it's really scary when you see the Clefairy drop the board because you're like, ooh, if I don't take this away, then I can just lose in 2 turns. If they just go KO, KO, and you can't attach energies. So, saw that Clefairy, got a little nervous. But, I mean, when your opponent breaks like that, it's really easy to come up with the win. So I was able to win that game. Game 3 went up against the Joltik box. Pretty scrappy game for me and my opponent. Like, it was just like pretty down to the wire. I got very lucky though. My opponent did have a pretty big misplay where they didn't see the prime catcher for Nest Ball to knock out to get Ursaluna to knock out my Latias that I had on my bench. I remember he played down Arvin, and I was like, oh, I lost the game. And he didn't grab Nest Ball, so I was like, or Prime Catcher, so I was like, no way, he just has it all in his hands. He's kind of just like styling on me by playing the Arvin. But just one of those things where he explained to me after he was really tunnel visioned on the Clefairy play. So he just kind of like locked himself in mentally, which has happened to me loads of times, especially playing in person because you can't really see your options as well if you're like in that zone. Where online you like kind of look at it and you're like, oh, Blood Moon or Saluna, oh wait, I can do this now. Um, so yeah, he just kind of overstepped that. So I was able to win on the next turn, just a quick boss Holucha from my discard, which I love that play. I think it's such a fun play. Like nest night stretcher for Holucha to your hand to then do for game, because I was able
Mhm.
to put on the Fez, then I was able to boss up the Fez, and then win the game. Round four, I talked about it or so a bit earlier. That was against Marco, where bricking and getting Wellspring Ogre Pond is just, man, one of those games.
Yeah.
So right now, I there's a couple players within our local space that I like to keep a little record with. I am now 1-2 against Marco. So, and I think every single time one of us has won, the other person has bricked horribly, except our first game where he played the Stair Ledge deck that I've never played. I've never felt more dumb, getting destroyed by Radiant Greninja. That was a crazy deck, and so a little salty that now I have a
Heck,
losing.
I won my first cup with that deck.
That's a cool deck. It's a fun deck.
Yeah.
It's a. I remember
Yeah.
I was like just in shock, being like, "Dang, Radiant Greninja has it like that." Um, that was kind of it for me. And then oh, and then I lost that round, and then round five kind of needed to win to get the top eight. Ran into an Ethan Cyphlosion. Um, I think overall the matchup isn't really that hard for Dragapult. I think it can get a little scary at some points, especially when you're only taking one prize cards. But I got lucky again. He bricked. I think he prized two Ethan's Adventures and then the redeemable ticket. So and also I want to shout him out because he was also very kind because I egregiously misplayed where I didn't put Halucha down first on the Fez to boss for KO because he was playing Fez. He let me take it back, which he didn't have to do at all. And it because I mean, hey, if he wants to get top eight, he wants to get top eight, and I respect it. I'm one of those players where in a more competitive format, I kind of don't let really take backs just because I'm like, it's been more competitive. Locals, I don't really care. Like, do this. Let's go through four different times of your turns. It's locals. I'm
Yeah.
not really caring. But he kind of, I immediately played it down, and I was like, oh. And he was like, no, you're good. And so I want to shout him out. It was very kind of him. I didn't have to do that. Again, we're playing to get into top eight. I did have a pretty advanced board state at that point, so maybe he explained it to me that he didn't really care because he felt like he was going to lose regardless. But again, he didn't have to do that, so I want to
Yeah.
shout him out for just good sportsmanship. I really appreciate that, especially with how more competitive I felt like the TCG has gone in the year I've played, and a bit more cutthroat. It's felt like. I think playing at Toronto was a very jarring experience for being like, whoa, people like actually will. You can't even say the wrong sentence because they will not let
Yeah.
you take back things, even if you didn't lay down a card. The moment you
Hmm.
say Phantom Dive and you actually want to stop, but you say Phantom, apparently that's just what people don't like you take back. So in a world where, and I think I've seen this sediment online too. So in a world where people are getting a lot more competitive with the game and are getting little more brash and like a bit more blunt with the game. I appreciate it. I appreciate something like that. Something small, but something that makes the game more fun. Um,
That's a big skill at regionals is knowing what you can do to a point where you can take it back. You need to know that
yeah, I did it.
because if
I
yeah,
I thought like my opponent was being like a little mean, but I didn't realize that the moment that you just say like that is actually a general thing. Like you can just say you don't have to say the full attack name. If you say Phantom, you have already technically declared an attack within the rules, which is crazy to me. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my tournament run. I'm excited to hopefully. September is always a weird month for playing Pokemon because I have a lot of birthdays in September, like family members, and then school starts up, so I have to get into a schedule. So hopefully by next episode I will be able to participate in something at least, even if it's like a four-player challenge like you. And Lucas, I'm not sure about you because you've won a couple of challenges. I win a four-cup challenge, and that will be over the moon. It will be my first challenge win, so I can't. I think I'm going to congratulate you on that because I still haven't won a challenge. So I will have to eventually win one, even if it's a four-player one. Um, came third at a 7-player one, which sucks because you still miss out on points because of how the
Yeah,
kicker
it's only
works.
top two.
It's only top two,
Yeah.
and I figured that out the hard way when I got home on the bus ride home. I was like, "Oh, I just got top three. This is so cool!" And I looked at the kicker and realized I still don't get any points. So that was a little tough.
Mhm.
But I think that does it for this month's episode. So Lucas, thank you very much for joining us and joining me today. I believe next month I will be recording with someone new. I'll keep that a little bit secret. It just all dependent if it's this new person plays Pokemon, competitive Pokemon throughout the month. That is the only requirement. But if they do, I might have someone new. If not, we'll see you again, Lucas, next month. And good luck
Sounds good.
to all your runs.
Thank you.
When is Pittsburgh again?
The weekend of September 20th.
So we probably record right before Pittsburgh. But yeah, the exceptions of me recording with you next month, as we kind of talked about more, is if you win regionals or the person I'm planning to record to doesn't play competitive Pokemon. So win
Yeah,
regionals, keep the mysterious third guest a mystery for slightly longer. If you go ahead and win that, um, but
and
yeah,
for next one, we have our League Cup next month
we have our League
as
Cup
well
next
as
month
challenge.
and a challenge. So
So hopefully we'll have live stream
we
footage.
might
That'd
have
be pretty
footage.
cool.
Hopefully, we'll try our
But
best to
yeah,
set that up. But
yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Like again, the prospects of having multiple world championships in our soul has happened already before, and now with someone who's a bit more local to us, that would be really cool. However, if I do have to play Riley McKay at a cup, I will not be happy because that would just be a little cruel and a little messed up. Not gonna lie. Um, but yeah,
he's not playing Gardevoir anymore. But yeah,
ooh, interesting. That's something.
yeah,
We'll see what he brings. He'll probably end up bringing Gardevoir again, or whatever he brings. But maybe when you win the world championship with one deck, you kind of want to retire it. But the cool thing is, I can't wait to get my deck box signed when those world championship decks come out next year. But
yeah.
thank you
I'm
so
excited
much,
for that too.
Lucas, for
Yeah, no
joining
problem.
me on this episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed the second episode of the Top Cut Pod, and we will see you next month. It has been Juan Pablo Ipiales and my amazing co-host Lucas Ward, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.